First of all, before we even dive in, the fact that this episode is called The Siege, I have some questions about the definition of a siege. Shouldn't there be a minimum number of people that attacks a fortress or a base for it to be considered a siege?
Yeah, it's like what, 4 people?
Yeah.
I thought laying siege was like you surround them and you starve them out and you overpower them by sheer number and resource, not a little infiltration.
Yes, this was a covert infiltration at most.
The siege.
This was not the siege of Mandalore. Anyway, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Dads of Dagobah, where we will be discussing chapter 12 of The Mandalorian, the fourth episode, season 2. So we are now halfway through because I think the season is only 8 episodes.
Yeah.
We're officially at the halfway mark. And Joseph, it followed the pattern that we have come to know and love/hate about The Mandalorian, which is an episode of major plot progression followed by a side quest episode. To me, this would fall under more of a side quest episode, although we do get some very interesting
It's
little.
a much more interesting side quest than the spiders on the ice planet.
Exactly. This is not Frog Lady's passage to Trask. This
Uh-huh.
is much more interesting, but still side questy to me.
John, I think you and I predicted this episode almost perfectly last week. I don't know if it was you or I, but we mentioned we're going to go back to Navarro and meet up with the gang.
Yeah. Well, first of all, Mando's ship, the Razor Crest, desperately needed repairs. So I'm not mad about that. I'm happy to see at the end of this episode that the ship is back to normal at least. But I will say, to not to skip too far ahead in the continuity, at the end of the episode when he was dogfighting with those TIE fighters, I just had anxiety. Like, please don't tell me that this ship is going to blow up again. He
We
just got
can't
it
have another
fixed.
episode getting the ship fixed.
He just got it fixed. You should not be engaging in dogfights on the same day that you just did these repairs.
Oh, there were a lot of funny memes. I think this is one of the most memeable episodes out there so far, from what I can see. Starting off with fixing the ship with the blue and red wires, straight from Among Us, where the imposter's trying to do the wires. Just a fun, cute little. I mean, I don't know what the point of it was, but it was fun.
And speaking of the child, I think last week I had said that I needed more of the child, some character development for this character. I don't know that we got character development,
Yeah, I don't know that we did either.
but we got more from him or her, not sure what the gender is. Um, and we got some more interaction between Mando and the child. Plus, the child was just doing objectively funnier things this episode than
Yeah,
previous
that's true.
episodes. The wire scene was funny. The dogfight scene was funny. That the child looked like he was, on a roller coaster, giggling and having the time of his life. Him finally using the Force again to steal away some what looked like some blue macaroons.
Uh huh.
Uh,
And then throwing up the macaroons.
yes, throwing them up. So there were some good child moments for sure in the episode. I enjoyed that. But in terms of the actual plot, I think I want to jump to just you see it on Joseph's screen now, his background. You see it on my background. The most interesting thing to come out of this episode is what they found in that Imperial base, which it wasn't just a base, it was a lab.
Mm-hmm.
And there were these test tube, back to tank looking uh, tanks in this lab with some deformed looking bodies in them. What are your
Yeah.
thoughts, Joseph? What were we looking at?
I don't know. I mean, some people are speculating it's Snoke, hence my picture there, the little Rise of Skywalker Snoke thing. Um,
And obviously, the other theory is what my background is, which is the Sith throne on Exegol, that it would be the the beginning of the Palpatine cloning.
so I think the most important line in the episode was the hologram from the scientist who we saw in the first season, where he's talking about the child's M count. I am to assume, and I think I'm safe in assuming that M refers to midichlorian.
Yeah, that has to be it.
Um, so they drained it. Well, they didn't drain the child. They took as much blood from the child as they could while still keeping him viable, and it was rejected by the host. Is that? Am I remembering that correctly?
That's what I got out of it, that it was obviously unsuccessful.
Okay. So here's my thought. I don't know that it's Snoke or Palpatine. I think what we see in the test tubes on the planet is tied to what we see at the very end of the episode on the Star Destroyer with Moff Gideon, when the lady comes in and says the tracker's been placed, and he's like, good, excellent, and he's working on what the not audio commentary, the audio descriptor. So instead of subtitles, if you listen to For the Blind, it describes what's happening. The audio descriptor says Moff Gideon works on Dark Troopers. I don't know if Dark Troopers are different from Death Troopers, because we have seen Death Troopers in The Mandalorian. I wonder if they are making a force sensitive set of troopers.
Hmm. That'd be interesting. So Dark Troopers does come from Legends material, and
Is it in
they
the game Battlefront? The original Battlefront?
I don't remember that, but they were in like a very old video game. I don't know if it was Shadows of the Empire or Dark Forces, but it was one of those old like Super Nintendo era, like 90s video games, Star Wars games, and they were droids. They were like basically big black battle droids before the prequels came out.
Huh.
And so that's interesting that the audio descriptor said that then. So if it was Dark Troopers,
Well,
it'll
I
be
don't
interesting
know.
to
I
see
don't know
if
if
they
that's a
keep with
proper
that and
name.
if they're just droids, or if they, take they've done this a lot before where they take a concept from Legends and they don't just port over the exact thing, they tweak it or make it different but use the same name. So it could be something like that. That's very interesting. I hadn't thought about that. I was 100% on this is either the Palpatine cloning happening or the Snoke cloning. But if it's the Snoke cloning, then you would have to assume Palpatine is already alive again
Uh-huh.
and orchestrating this. And I'm not sure um, if this series, The Mandalorian, wants to go down the path of trying to connect to Rise of Skywalker.
Honestly, as I was watching it, and my first thoughts were, "Is this Snoke or Palpatine?" I thought, "Darn, that means that it actually is canon that Palpatine is a clone, and he, comes anyway."
Oh, that's definitely canon. We're not
I know, of
erasing.
course it is, of course it is. But my head canon is, not really.
Well, I also was discussing with Corey, and she brought up a good question. I said, well, what if it's like, it's no coincidence to me that we see in Navarro. I liked how we saw Navarro, that town, how it's flourishing. It looks great. It's bustling.
There's a statue of IG-11.
There's a statue of IG-11 in the town courtyard. They have a school that the protocol droid is like teaching the school children. I liked seeing that they're doing well, thriving there in the Outer Rim under Grief Karga's administration and Cara Dune being the marshal. All that was cool to me. But I'm sure you noticed the little girl in the school who has Rey's exact hair. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
is that Rey? Is that Rey, or assume that that is a popular hairstyle in the Outer Rim?
Honestly,
Wouldn't it line up that that would be the age that Rey is at this time, 6 years after Return of the Jedi?
no, because Force Awakens happens 30 years after Return of the Jedi.
So 20, okay, so she would be in her 30s. So that girl's
It could be
probably,
Rey's mom.
no.
Why
If
not?
if if Force Awakens happens 30 years after Return of the Jedi,
And Mandalorian is 7.
now we're doing math. Okay, so Force Awakens is 23 years after Mandalorian. And Rey is how old do we think in Force Awakens?
I
20?
thought she was 14, 15.
In Force Awakens?
Yeah? Am I
No.
crazy?
Yes. She's at least like 19 or 20.
Okay.
She's not a 14-year-old girl in Force Awakens.
uh,
Well, let's assume, I don't know, you could be right, but let's assume that you're not, and that she's 20
I
years
think,
old in The Force Awakens around that time.
either way, I don't think the time's working out.
So she at least, so let's just, she's probably not born
Hmm.
in during the Mandalorian time.
Because when she's given to, um, oh, what was his name?
Unkar plot?
Unkar Plot, she's 6, 7.
Yeah. Well, it brought up the question of, so I think the canon is Rey's father is a Palpatine, correct?
What's the canon? I thought he was a offshoot of a failed clone, right?
So that's where I'm going. I thought in my head, well, wasn't Rey's father a clone of Palpatine? And Corey said, was he a clone or was he just a child? And I said, I don't know, actually.
No,
I don't remember. I'd
I
have to
think,
watch Rise of Skywalker again.
yeah, because they're trying to make it so that there is no mother to the dad.
Right.
Because I don't think they like the idea of Darth Sidious in love with someone.
Okay. So then I started to think, well, what if these are more Palpatine, not the clone that we see in Rise of Skywalker, but
Oh,
they're
with this
other
other.
offshoot clones similar to Rey's father type of thing. But it could be none of those things, like you said, and it could be a completely different purpose that Moff Gideon has. Because we don't even have confirmation that Moff Gideon is in the branch of the Empire now that will turn into the First Order or will go to
Yeah,
the
and that's a
unknown
problem that I
regions.
have the entire. This is now Rise of Skywalker complaining time. In all of the supplemental material that we have leading up to the Rise of Skywalker, in no way is there any mention of a connection. It's Battle of Jakku, Empire's gone. Some fleeing people go out to the unknown regions and start the First Order. Not the last order, the final order. Anyway, let's not go down that road. But I think it's not Palpatine nor Snoke.
Okay, interesting. But it is interesting so that we find out that whatever they're trying to do, they need blood with a high midichlorian count, which is why they want the child, because clearly whatever species Yoda is, that Yoda and the child are naturally force sensitive creatures, it
Uh-huh.
seems. From our sample size of three, Yaddle, Yoda, and the child,
Right.
100% of them are force sensitive.
Can
And
I ask you
so,
a question? A personal, not personal, a fan question? Do
yes.
you like that they did not say the word midichlorian? Do you think that was on purpose?
I do think it was on purpose because there's such this vitriolic opinion about midichlorians in the prequel trilogy, but they said M count knowing that everybody would know exactly what that is.
Yeah, why say M count and not just say midichlorian?
Yeah. I think we all need to grow up and get over the midichlorian hate.
Yeah, I
It is
agree.
what it is. And with applications like this, I find that they have found an interesting angle to it now.
Uh-huh.
Like, okay, if this is a thing and the midichlorians are a sign of force sensitivity in the blood, then nefarious purposes could be explored on transfusing that blood into other beings to see if they become force sensitive.
So really, it's not the Empire anymore. It's just an evil red cross,
Yeah,
just taking blood out of force sensitive people and putting them into non-force sensitive.
very true. Yeah, so at least this answers actually the question, one of the main questions from season one. We now finally have an answer, which is why why are they trying to track down this baby
Mm-hmm.
Yoda? Why are they tracking this child down? Well, they need its blood for whatever experiments they're conducting.
Yeah.
They need something with a high midichlorian count. That's the only reason that I'm tying it like back to Palpatine, is because if they're trying to clone or create the Emperor, who was one of the most powerful, if not the most powerful Sith of all time, they need something with a high midichlorian count. They're not looking to, clone Kit Fisto over here who goes down in 5 seconds in the, you know,
Doesn't
Imperial
even swing his
Senate.
lightsaber. Just
Seriously.
lifts his arms up.
They're not trying to just get somebody who can levitate a pear across the dinner table and cut it for the girl he's trying to impress. They're trying to create someone who can shoot Zeus level lightning storms out of his fingertips and disable a whole fleet above him. And
I
so
forgot about that part.
so that's what makes me think there might be a tie to Palpatine, because what does it matter if you find the scientist, I can't remember the exact quote, but the scientist made a comment about the midi-chlorian count has to be high, or it has to be a high enough midi-chlorian count, M count, has to be a high enough M count for for it to work, basically. And the question is why? Well, if the creature you were trying to infuse the blood with is supposed to be a powerful force user, I don't know. That's just a theory. Rampant speculation on that one, but um, definitely gives some context to the whole first season and this season on why they're being tracked. Mando, obviously, as soon as he hears that, he's like jetpacks out of there, like I got to go get the child. Now he's really going to be like, wherever he goes, I go, or wherever I go, he goes, type of thing. I
You
don't
would
think
think after the first 3 episodes he'd already be like that, but
he let his guard down because he was back with his buddy Grief Karga and Cara Dune, and he thought, oh, these are my friends here on Navarro. No, no more of that. He's like, there's no way I'm leaving this kid behind again at school. Um, but anyway, definitely interesting. I thought that, coupled with the Dark Trooper thing, those are the highlights of the episode to me. Of all right, you've intrigued me again with these side stories here. What's going on?
I feel like this is less of a side story and more of a I don't know. I mean, what is the ultimate goal of our story is to get him to the Jedi, right? Yes, it does not progress that other than it fixes his ship, but it far exceeds what we need from an episode where it gives us lore and background and fun callbacks, all that stuff, right?
Yeah. Well, I think there are two parallel plots for me in The Mandalorian right now that are competing for main plots. One of them is find more Mandalorians, and the other is the Moff Gideon Empire presence
Save the child.
track him down to for the child.
Uh-huh. And they
And
kind of overlap a little, right?
the child is what helps them overlap. So in the Mandalorian plot line, it's he's trying to get the child to the Jedi. In the Imperial plot line, it's they're being tracked down because the Empire wants the child. So, obviously we can assume with good storytelling that these two seemingly separate plots at the beginning of the series are going to intertwine and become just the same
Mm-hmm.
ending and same resolution. But they're gonna intertwine like that. But it'll be interesting to see where it goes for sure. I have to assume now that chapter 13, which is rumored to be called The Jedi, and also rumored to be over 50, I think like 58 minutes or something like that.
And is directed by
And
Dave Filoni.
directed by Dave Filoni, the creator of Ahsoka Tano. If we don't see Ahsoka next week, then I don't know what any of us are doing here.
Yeah, I would put money down that we're seeing Ahsoka next week.
Yeah.
Another interesting thing is all of the footage from the trailer has now been shown. From here on out, we have all new footage, not shown in any trailer. I don't
How
know.
did you feel? How did you feel about Blue Guy? I don't even know his name. Showing back up from chapter one, episode one of the first season.
Okay, funny line about how he still can't see out of his left eye. That was hilarious. Abby made the comment that, boy, they sure aren't treating him well. Like, in the thought that something's going to happen where they're going to need his help and he's not going to be there, or he's going to be like, forget you guys, because, man, they just treated him like dirt the whole episode. But
I just thought it was funny that Carl Weathers, Grief Karga, every 5 seconds is throwing out these ultimatums of either I drop 100 years off of your debt or I leave you here to die. Like, first of all, why are you even offering the 100 years off? Why not just offer like 1 year off? You're giving him way too many years off right now.
yeah.
Like 1 year off of your debt or I leave you here to die. I'm still taking the 1 year. Like you've given up way too much ground, Grief Karga.
I think he annoys him, so he actually kind of wants to get him out of the debt as fast as possible.
Maybe that's true.
Why did I put this guy under a debt to me? Dang it!
And then there are tons of little Easter eggs and things like that. And um, also thought I couldn't really tell. I only watched the episode once, but when the New Republic pilot shows up and is talking to Grief Karga and then talks to Cara Dune after and shows her that, Rebel Alliance badge or insignia or whatever that metal thing was. But on Grief Karga's desk, I was like, is that a lightsaber on his desk? It looked like a lightsaber sitting on his desk. I'm like, that can't just be a lightsaber sitting out, I'm assuming. But it looked very similar to what a lightsaber would look like. So I wondered what that was.
What in the world? I didn't even catch that.
I haven't seen anybody talk about it on the internets, so maybe
Yeah.
it's crazy. But
I'll tell you who got the most talk about on the internet.
who?
The background character. Do you see him?
The background character?
Yeah,
There are
did you
many
not
background characters, Joseph.
did you not see the guy? The blue
Oh,
jeans
oh,
and
oh,
sports watch and
you mean the actual like guy in the jeans and the gray t-shirt?
yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I thought you meant like one of the background characters in the actual show. I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. I did see screenshots of that, but I only saw it after I saw the episode, and so I didn't notice it during the episode.
Yeah, I didn't notice either. Just thought it was funny.
But then
Um,
another thing is another connection I made was the spy guy or the guy that put the tracking device on the Razor Crest.
you recognize
He
him?
he is the same species from the character in Squadrons, the game we both love and have been playing hours and hours of recently. That is sarcasm, fans of this channel, Dads of Dagobah fans,
Do you know
because
what
we
planet
both
they're
thought that
from?
game.
What
What?
species it is?
Mimban.
Yeah, very good.
Which you
Yep.
see in the greatest Star Wars movie of all time, Solo, a Star Wars story.
As a Skywalker. Yeah, those are Mimbanese people. We don't see them in Solo, but they are from Mimban.
But this is good though because now basically any episode a conflict can happen
Mm-hmm.
because they're being tracked. So I thought that was interesting that now they're being tracked. Um, what else? Anything? I can't. I'm trying to think if there were other
I
things.
saw a really funny tweet where they said Star Wars is yet again just A means by which we get our heroes to have a chase through a canyon.
Yeah.
Every time.
Like the action in that whole scene was like fine. Like it's fine. Um, but I was like, all right, let's move it along. Moving on, move along, move along.
Move along.
Um,
I thought the battle within the base was fun. I mean, nothing to complain about. It was exciting. It was. I mean, we got the speeder chase. We got the. I mean, so many callbacks to the little whatever it is, the guidance system, wherever you can
well,
shoot
that
things,
shuttle,
but you can only shoot things if it lights up. If it's not lighting up, you can't shoot at it because you'll always miss.
but you might as well just shoot lasers anyway, just in case the targeting system's off a little bit. Maybe you'll get lucky; they'll fly into the laser.
I know.
Um, but I'm pretty. I don't know the exact name of that shuttle slash tank troop transport thing, but we definitely see those in Rebels, don't we? I'm pretty sure when
Is it the troop
Sabine goes
transport?
when they go back to Mandalore and Sabine is on Mandalore and they're trying to rescue her father who's in prison, and that whole like canyon scene on in those episodes, they're in those same looking tank things.
Oh,
The
is it not
Empire's
the same
the
thing that
Empire
was?
using those.
Is it not the same thing that was in the last season of Mandalorian, where they brought the stormtroopers when they have them surrounded, and they're bringing in death troopers and more stormtroopers? They bring in those things, and people jump out of. Is that the same thing?
It very well could be. I can't remember, but
Because
probably.
I thought in the spotlight they talked about how they brought that back because that was a toy from the original days of action figures, but the toy was based on nothing. It was just a toy with stormtroopers, and so then Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau thought it'd be fun to actually bring that into Star Wars.
Probably true.
They do a great job. I'll say this: they do a fantastic job of weaving in so many things that the movies, the sequels in particular, did not do. Of just fun callbacks and Easter eggs and building on lore we love, right? Including midichlorians.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think I also like that this episode, while it could be argued that it feels a little bit more of a detour from the main plot. I think that, the main plot at this point is find Ahsoka. But even though it's a detour, they did it the right way. It didn't feel like chapter 10 with the frog lady. It felt like even though it was a detour, there was progress that was made. It made sense, and it tied a lot of things in from season one. Characters that we already know, um, a location that we know, obviously, seeing how things have changed, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, I thought it was well done. Um, and so I enjoyed it, but I am ready to get
I'm
the
ready for
Ahsoka train.
Ahsoka.
I'm ready for Ahsoka. I'm ready to see what's going on, how she's going to react to the child. I'm, I mean, I would be surprised if Ahsoka becomes a regular character in the series. So I have to assume she's not really going to want much to do with Mando and the child.
Oh, really? You think she's just a one-off character, or kind of like a,
I don't know.
huh? I hope not. But I guess it's not her show, right? It's not her show. It's the Mandalorian.
I mean, isn't she supposed to be out trying to find Ezra right now?
That's what I thought.
She's not trying to be starting a Jedi Academy with the child. If anything, she's going to be like, hey, Luke Skywalker's starting his own Jedi Academy. You should send him there.
Oh, that is sweet. Um, let's move away from the Mandalorian for a bit. Did you see the newest bit of Star Wars film that came out this week on Life Day?
I know what you're talking about, but I have not watched it.
Oh, it's gold.
Oh, you
It's
watched it already?
oh yeah, it's 50 minutes. We're talking about the Lego Star Wars Holiday Special. It's it's Lego Star Wars, so it's making fun of Star Wars through Lego. It's fun. It's not there's less. I mean, what do you expect?
So are we gonna watch and do a film a reaction?
This will suffice for my reaction. It's good. You should watch it. I
We
don't
don't
really have much
break
more to
down every
say.
little detail. Here's the thing about the Lego Star Wars content is I don't think that they are considered canon in any way.
Yeah, there's no way what this movie is canon. There's absolutely no way.
Yeah, it's just supposed to be fun, lighthearted Star Wars
Though I
goofiness.
do think I do think there is one piece that is canon, and that is Rey, after Rise of Skywalker, is training Finn on how to be a Jedi. Because that's the very first 2 minutes of the film is her training him. I think that is actually canon. Everything else is just fun.
Imagine if we could have gotten that in the sequel trilogy.
Hey, I'm all for it.
Well, it's too late now, so no one cares if you're for it or against
Because
it.
John Boyega and Daisy Ridley and Oscar Isaac do not want to do anything else with Star Wars, it seems.
Yeah. Anyway, I thoroughly enjoyed Chapter 12, The Siege. I thought it was entertaining. I thought that we got some very interesting things coming up with the cloning slash test tube
Transfusion.
tanks,
Yep.
and counts, the Dark Troopers, uh, lots of good stuff. But
Dark side phlebotomists.
Dark Side Phlebotomist, we have more evidence that Baby Yoda is a dark side user, a
Hey,
dark side of the
he's
Force.
stealing blue milk macaroons.
That's right. He's like, if you're not gonna share with me, then I will use my power to take what I feel is rightfully mine. I'm surprised that kid that had the macaroons is even still alive right now. You can post choke the kid in plain daylight right there.
No one would have stopped him. Who would have stopped him?
They wouldn't have even known he was doing it. They would have just thought it was some medical anomaly.
Okay,
Any other
next
thoughts
week.
on chapter 12?
Huh?
Said any other thoughts on chapter 12?
No. Fun episode. Let's get on to Ahsoka.
I agree. Which I think will happen next week. Do you think it'll happen
Yeah,
next week?
100%.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, until Friday, Sean, what are we saying again?
Uh, this has been another episode. I don't know. Oh no, we say what's our sign? What's our call sign? We'll get this down one day. Oh yeah. We need to a call to action, Joseph. That's the YouTube algorithm. So
That's right.
tell us what you think in the comments below about chapter 12, The Siege. Do you think that we'll see Ahsoka next week? But the real question I want you to answer in the comments below, what's your theory on the test tube back to tank M count cloning lab happening? What is this going to turn out to be? What is Moff Gideon up to? Let us know in the comments below. That's what we want to hear. If you enjoyed this conversation, please like the video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, so that you can
If
get
you feel like we've
notifications.
earned it.
Or even if you just pity us and you feel like these guys just need a boost in their life right now, clearly from the way they look and what they're talking about. Um, Subscribe to the channel, you'll get the notifications. We are trying to get these videos out on a weekly basis now, reactions to the holiday special and the Mandalorian episodes. And until next time, we have spoken,
This is the way.
and we'll see you next time on Dads of Dagobah. Bye.
Bye.